Within the neon-drenched labyrinth of Kamurocho, it's out with the old and in with the new. We've been treated to a lot from Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio since the Western release of Yakuza 6 last year, but it goes without saying that the question on everyone's minds has been, what's Kamurocho like without the friendly neighborhood dragon of Dojima? Well, allow us to respond to that burning query with a comprehensive review of Judge Eyes. Or was it Judgment? Yeah, it was Judgment. In Judgment, you assume the role of Takayuki Yagami, a disgraced lawyer turned private detective for hire, as he undertakes a series of interconnected cases that soon revolve around nationwide conspiracy. From investigating serial murders to finding missing pet cats, Yagami's sense of duty and justice shows another side of the ever-so-fictional Kamurocho, seldom explored by characters that aren't Japanese mobsters. Judgment marks the latest game by the Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio responsible for the universally loved Yakuza series, along with last year's Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise. This also marks the latest chronological entry of games as they have developed with Kamurocho as the main setting. To set the record straight, there are virtually no direct cameos or substantial references to characters or plot points related to the mainline Yakuza series. Despite a few select non-intrusive nods, Judgment reaps the benefits of an established setting while maintaining an identity of its own as a spin-off. For those that might be disappointed by that notion, don't be, as this is set 2 years after the events of Yakuza 6, and there's plenty to look forward to returning to Kamurocho, and the star of the show is without a doubt its persistent universe. This might not come as a shock to fans of the series, but Judgment's crowning achievement is how lived in its world is. This usually comes naturally after working off several mainline games, with the same environment as its base, but the fact that Judgment features a brand new cast, extra attention was put towards prioritizing the wonderful setting, as the characters of the game are slowly fleshed out. Kamurocho is still the same gaudy, debaucherous hellhole we all know and love, but without the aid of a returning legacy cast, the setting manages to take center stage and flourish in a way it had never been able to do in previous installments. This is accentuated through the game's emphasis on community. As a budding detective, befriending and giving back to the many citizens of Kamurocho is as important as it has ever been to progress in the game. More on that later. But it's a testament to the wonderful world of Judgment that makes you, as a player, feel motivated enough to help as many NPCs as possible. It's not to say that the cast is lacking either. Judgment sports a star-studded lineup of actors who are great to listen to in either language, such as Takuya Kimura for Japanese, and Matthew Mercer or Crispin Freeman for the English dub. Localization efforts have been kicked up several notches with multilingual subtitle tracks, with subtle changes to inflections and dialect for both Japanese and English depending on the audio that you choose. That generally doesn't occur, particularly in the realm of video games, so for those who know Japanese and understand the tonal changes between each language, you'll be in for a treat. Helping prop up the production values is the Dragon engine. While it still makes every explorable area ooze with atmosphere, further optimization of stable frame rates is apparent, particularly in and out of combat compared to Yakuza Kiwami 2. It is most noticeable around the vast amount of enemies you can fight at a time, and also when you're exploring open areas. The engine still has some problems dealing with stuff like pop-in, but the amount of NPCs on screen at once without chugging the frame rate is mighty impressive. The line between Kamurocho and its real-life counterpart Kabukicho is getting ridiculously blurry, and it's great to see the studio place more focus and emphasis on stabilizing the engine's performance, particularly on lower-end consoles like the standard PlayStation 4. Though of all facets of the game's design, most of the glaring differences made in Judgment is without a doubt in the gameplay department. As detectives do, the exploration segments are littered with engaging minigames to help break up the monotony of combat, and these take the form of lockpicking, drone reconnaissance, chase sequences, and much more. And while some of these work and the chase sequences are positive purely based on the fact that they're much better than the chase minigames within Yakuza 3 and 4, there are a few quirks. These minigames rarely appear in later stages of the main story once the action ramps up, so if you're not a side quest completionist, you're probably going to forget you ever did them in the first place. And the parts where you have to trail targets are controlled very clumsily and are arguably the least engaging part of the game. Thankfully, the combat is far more straightforward and consistent. Yagami has both Crane and Tiger styles at his disposal, the former that excels in crowd control and the latter style hones in on single targets and allows for higher damage output. On top of that, Yagami can be upgraded to deal beefier combos and obtain new or familiar moves. And at first glance, it may not seem too unique of an approach, but once you have the controller in your hand, you'll begin to notice that Yagami can't be played as conservatively as that of a dragon. His attacks connect like a dance, and in between hits you're left wide open even when you have super armor. This extends to most offensive and defensive maneuvers like move cancelling or dashing, where the window to perform them is very limited. Most combo finishes demand correct timing, and they result in adding extra damage, or they provide adequate spacing between you and the enemy, so there's more than enough incentive to always fight your best. What initially seems constricting becomes second nature quite quickly, as the game teaches you to focus harder on Yagami's very intricate attack animations to know exactly when to dash cancel, when to finish a combo with oomph, or responding with a well-earned tiger drop, as long as you time it correctly. This makes the game feel slightly more challenging than Kiryu's Dragon style, which should be more than enough to entice veteran fans of the series. For those looking to get lost in Kamurocho again, it's guaranteed that your stay will be long and fruitful. Judgment has a massive main story campaign clocking in around about 35 hours to complete. In addition, assisting people in the city to unlock huge sprawling side quests, engaging in awesome diversions like Dice and Cube, drone racing, and all of the time spent playing Fighting Vipers should knock you well and truly over the 60-hour mark. And with that, Judgment is pretty good middle ground in terms of experimentation and sticking to its strengths. To answer the aforementioned question, Kamurocho is doing pretty well without Kiryu, and from the looks of things will continue to do so. Newcomers will be glad to know that it won't require much knowledge of the previous games to enjoy the Yakuza universe, but established fans won't be disappointed either, since it's a great palate cleanser for when the Shin Yakuza project finally hits. Oh yeah, and it's the only game released in the last few years to feature the CEO of Ikinari Steak in a side quest. That alone makes it a Game of the Year contender. Maybe.